Hi, I'm Jeremiah. Welcome to Up at Night. This podcast is all about learning from thought leaders, academics, and professionals based on one fundamental question. What keeps you up at night? Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Up at Night. Today I'm joined by David Nagy, who I happened to met at a couple of conferences throughout the year. David is basically the mastermind behind eCommerce Canada and have a very atypical and interesting profile. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to talk about the big two letters that everybody's talking about, which is AI, hopefully with a different approach that's going to be valuable for our audience. So David, thank you so much for being with me today.
Jeremiah, the pleasure's all mine, man. I've been an admirer of yours. You put together a great show. This thing's a lot of fun and a great business as well, man. You're admired in this industry, and I just think it's such a pleasure to be invited to join you today.
Thank you. Very nice word coming from someone who have such a great experience. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in this position, and also all the different, I would say, when I think about, it's not about the destination, but the journey, I kind of have you showing up in my mind. So please walk us through that a little bit.
That's the funny thing about journeys or the destination towards a summit. I used to own an outdoor gear brand at one point in my career, Jeremiah. So we always talk in mountaineering analogies. I get a lot of that from me today. Funny thing about summits is there's always another one, right? And the journey is perpetual. And I think like most entrepreneurs, I didn't have a plan or a vision, or maybe I was one of the poor entrepreneurs that didn't have enough of a plan or a journey. But I found my way into this world, and I've been, in the digital space for about 22 years now. Like most of us, I started going through corporate and then at an agency, and I figured out pretty quickly through those experiences I was an entrepreneurial guy. And I took that leap of faith. I started my first business and found some success. I got traction pretty quickly. Went on to found an outdoor gear company. It became one of Canada's 50 fastest growing businesses. And, over time, I won't go into the details of that backstory, but I became impassioned to support small business owners and entrepreneurs, right? That's where I find a kinship. It's like, man, you're a risk taker, a dreamer, a visionary, somebody that wants to bite off what the world has to offer. That's the room that I want to be in. That's the place where I felt safe. And eCommerce Canada was driven around that. I was like, why does anybody have a voice for these people? Why are we going to events that are held by good organizations like the Retail Council and CFIB? And there's an association for everything. But there wasn't one for this, right? And there wasn't anything that was uniting digitally focused businesses, I would say, that had some kind of checkout in that experience to have a voice when it came to policy and lobby and direction and understanding and sharing, community above all else. You and I are more effective when we're in that mix, learning from other entrepreneurs, asking some of our great friends, what should I choose next? And that's really what eCommerce Canada was about, was to create that community.
I love that. And I think it's so important for our community. Direct to consumer business, e-commerce business have such a different approach to how to talk to customers compared to what we call traditional, that having as much resource as possible and ways to communicate with other entrepreneurs that feel is critical for success. Especially now that AI is accelerating everything. And my first question would be to you from that angle, from an AI perspective. You've had the opportunity to see what enterprises, mid-sized business, and SMBs are doing. A lot of people that would say would start a business coming from a corporate world will come with certain experience. What would be the pitfall that you would see an entrepreneur tackling AI the same way for an SMB than a mid-size or a large business?
For sure. I mean, I'll go back in my career, actually. I at one point owned 6 e-commerce companies, Jeremiah, and it was chaos. There were some really bad ones in there, and I learned a lot from the bad ones. I think we gratify our egos when we're running a good business and we're thinking we can do no wrong. And then you run into friction, right? You run into this thing that maybe the timing wasn't right. And that's actually been the differentiator of the good businesses that I've operated versus the ones that were maybe not so good.
True.
And the thousands that I've witnessed as well. It's like, it has more to do with timing than anything else. I think just generalizing software, and I'll bucket AI into that, is we are led to believe that it's not about systems, process, people. It's about, choosing the right tool or the right skill set, right? And there's many times in my career I've gone to market trying to find that expert to do that thing. If I could just get that person, right? If I could bring them in the door and pay them enough money, it's going to radically change the outcome. Or if I adopted the right platform, it's not us, it's the website, right? It can't be us. We're so good at what we do. Look how successful we've been in the past. It's got to be that platform. And I have incessantly changed and adapted and modified, bought the latest tools, and found that was never the key to the success. The success that I had was A, timing, and B, systems, process, and people. Having the muscle memory of what to prioritize, right? Really developing operating systems within my business. So I knew good from bad. And I could solve it with the right tool if I knew how to distinguish between the two. But when we're in a panic state and everything's not going the way that we want, there's just a natural tendency to seek answers in places that those answers can't be found. I think a lot of that is occurring with artificial intelligence right now, right? Certainly there's FOMO because we're reading about it everywhere. And who can't go to a conference like you and I did recently? It's probably 65% of the content is the latest AI sludge pump fencer valve that we're supposed to be acquiring, right?
The hype train is full steam ahead when it comes to AI these days, like you said. And how does one separate what's valuable from the noise in these circumstances?
Start with culture. So I'm a man of many hats, Jeremiah. It's part of the brand as well. So you always see me in one of these. It has more to do with my hairline than anything, but I play in multiple different venues. I'm also the Chief Technology Officer for the Canadian Manufacturing and Exporters Association. We represent thousands of businesses across the country in a tariff impacted environment right now. So these are really at-risk sectors that we're dealing with. It's a privilege to have that particular role. And I've been able to work with that group over the last 9 months to implement emerging technologies, not just AI, but a suite of emerging technologies, because gosh, there's so many cool things happening today. Robotics to automation to blockchain. I could talk all day about how great this stuff is. But at its center is machine learning and data intelligence, artificial intelligence. That's the commercialized part of what we talk about. Is culture more than anything else. There's a lot of tools out there. And it's almost an exchangeable thing. Do you prefer ChatGPT? Do you prefer Claude or Perplexity? What's the right tool for the job? Which model should I use within it? I mean, you can drown yourself in that. There's thousands of AI products. And you can go from person to person. They will have an affinity for different things, right? I think there are the right tools for the job. I could produce a nice little chart for you right now. This is what I use, but that's the opinion of one. I think you do need to do some testing and sampling and decide what's important. It's far too easy to adopt AI, right? Like far too easy. We're talking ERP systems or CRM systems or inventory management systems. There's some hurdles to jump there. And we don't just readily, easily say like, let's start using this today. We go through a procurement process and a requirements capturing process. AI lands on our door on a monthly subscription in about 2 seconds. Go create an account, right? Put in a credit card, up and running. As a corporate entity, what do we choose? You still got to back up. And so this is a serious decision, right? This is actually a big decision for a corporation. I have worked with 2 businesses to date that have a policy for acceptable use of artificial intelligence, right? That's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing when you think about it.
I agree. I mean, it's the Far West and large corporation. I was surprised to be amongst my peer, one of the rare, and I'm a small business compared to many others that have more employees and more revenue, that added a policy in my employees policy to say any AI tool used for work has to be approved and cannot be linked to a personal account. And you're right. There's so many businesses that even had, from a legal or compliance standpoint, worked on any of this.
And do I distrust platforms? Well, there's reasons why we should, and we don't know what the future holds. I don't think there's nefarious entities out there, but there could be. The reality is we don't know what we don't know. And just because, a platform may say it's not training their models on your data, you are still uploading sensitive data. Could be customer lists, could be financial performance, could be shareholder
Yeah,
communication.
and that data is one hack away from being leaked somewhere.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have to protect that. And there needs to be enterprise deployment of such things. Now, how do you do it? I did, full transparency. I do own equity in a business that does do this and deploy artificial intelligence
Okay.
systems and corporations to keep it all safe, to keep it moated, and to deploy it on your cloud, not somebody else's cloud. Right. And I think it starts there, is like, know what you are dealing with. Don't react to the fear of missing out, the good old FOMO, and just start saying like, oh my goodness, there seems to be two schools of thought. Either rush to adopt it because we got to compete, we got to stay productive and like let people use AI, but we don't know how to control or administer it. Or the other school of thought of like, close the door, shut it down, turn off the lights. We can't use that stuff. It's terrifying. And the answer is somewhere in the middle, right? It's like, actually, we do need the productive capacity. My goodness, the manufacturing industry in our country needs the productive capacity that this amazing technology offers. But we have to do it in the right way. We need to be good stewards of it. And I think it's more conversations like this that kind of like teach people what this roadmap looks like. So know what your requirements are, understand the tools that are out there, and figure out acceptable use and how you're going to bring that into your organization. Because we do have to enable them, but we have to do it in the right way.
I want to go a level higher because, and I want to have your opinion on this. We put so much pressure on AI, and is it really excitement about the technology or the fear of an economy that is slowing down, a dollar that's losing value, a growth product that is flat for years, and a bunch of entrepreneurs who really at this point don't really know what to do, but to look at these type of technology to go after the next milestone?
Will it save me? Right. And it's a very complex question, what you're proposing here. And this will be a good conversation to have with you because such a myriad of different things. Can this technology move the needle? Absolutely it can. I've seen it myself. I've seen it radically change the mindset of an organization in 30 to 60 days. Now that needs to be well shepherded. That can't just be like, hey team, let's use ChatGPT, shall we? It doesn't work like that. Good stewards progress, upskill, have a plan, have a cadence, build excitement. We call this the culture of innovation, right?
I love that.
Yeah, build a culture of innovation. Get everybody swimming in the same direction. Collaborate using artificial intelligence, right? This is a rare thing that people don't do. We work in our little silos. We don't collaborate. We don't create tools to exchange and to share. And again, there's environments to do this within, but it's all possible. So yes, it can move the needle. Can it save a bad business? I've never seen anything that can save a bad business, right? I know I've tried with not much success, right?
Just like an ERP, just like a CRM, just like anything. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that your business needs to be bad forever. I hope I'm not picking on anybody that's saying they've got a business. That's not my intention. But, what it tells us is like you may need to pivot, right? You may need to change it. All businesses can become good businesses through good leadership and good stewardship and good timing and things like that. Right? So just know what your priority is. Is it to add AI or is it to shift your business model, right? Do you need to go through a transformation before you adopt the toolkit? I would say the same to someone who has $1 million marketing spend, but a bad conversion rate. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe before we throw down the cash, let's fix that priority first. And then the tool can help tremendously.
Dabbing a little bit into manufacturing, it struck me how in certain specific fields late we are when it comes to technology adoption. And I've seen very big business operating without even a CRM on Excel documents with an ERP that hasn't been updated for, I didn't even knew that ERP existed 15, 20 years ago, but they did. They're clearly not the NetSuite or the SAP solution we have today. But from a manufacturing standpoint, because that impacts ultimately the retailer and the brand that needs these people to create goods, how should they tackle that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there are so many ways that artificial intelligence can touch an organization like that, right? You and I have a ton of experience in direct to consumer and
Yeah,
retail and wholesale. It's kind of like, preparation of goods that we sell to the market. Then manufacturer, you're looking at like a source and supply chain. It starts there, like visibility around where I acquire things. Amazon Web Services had just an amazing booth down at NRF in New York this year where they were showing us an example of, and this wasn't a product of theirs, it was like a prototype of what you can achieve with good insights. They built this display called the Luggage Lab. And what you could do with the Luggage Lab is a common person like you or I could just walk up and say, I would really like to start building carrier bags. That's cool. That's appealing to me, right? How would I go about that? It's like, well, let's interact with our UI. Let's just talk to the interface here and say, who do you want to build carrier bags for? Digital nomads? All right, let's build them for digital nomads. So we do a market assessment, tell you, hey, here's all the digital nomads in the world. We have population data that we can pull into this thing. Now let's build your bag. It should probably look like this. It should be able to fit like a 16-inch laptop and have this much capacity in it, place for your water bottle, all those great things. You would go through the build process and would source everything for your supply chain, would cost it on the fly, right? So
that's crazy.
it's living inside AWS. Within about 6 to 8 minutes of clicking, Jeremiah, you're placing an MOQ. Right.
It's incredible. But I feel like so many businesses in Canada are far from being able to remotely incorporate their system with such technology. Whereas obviously China and Asia have years and years and years of technology advancement over some of our industries here. So what do we do from there?
The metaphor that occurs to me, and I experienced this a lot when I started my career in e-commerce, right? Because it was a blue ocean back then. And again,
True.
I think timing played more into the success that I had than anything else. We had single digits of really at scale online retailers in the country.
That's crazy.
Back then, right? Like literally a very small population. The suppliers that we worked with didn't sell on the internet. They protected their retail partnerships and their wholesale partnerships. You weren't competing with the people that were supplying the merchandise that you were buying, which of course everybody is today. So there were certain luxuries that we had back then. But where you'd run into challenges is if you couldn't figure out what was available to sell, right? So it's like, hey, I want to start, selling your product through my website. And they'd be like, well, all we've ever done is B2B and we don't have those images and that product data. Maybe we could export something out of our ERP system to get that to you. So the barrier to entry was so great, right? And when you start to build an entity with thousands of SKUs on it, it's like that level of friction and the amount of like human power it took to compile something like that. The barrier to entry was too big and you would have very few participants in the direct to consumer market as a result of that, right? Now, the reason I have that analogy or created that metaphor for you is like now transpose that to Canadians' manufacturing sector. There is no catalog of merchandise that exists anywhere. Nothing is consolidated. We don't know where the machine shops are. We don't know where the laser cutters are. We don't know where the manufacturing processes are. We don't know where the source materials are. We don't know where the widgets and the aluminum and the steel and the springs are to compile to build a motor. It's all just built on intellectual property and relationships, right? True. Canada is operating as though it were the 1970s from that regard. No one has really built that. And the comparable to the Luggage Lab from AWS is they know where every factory who produces absolutely every buckle and every button and every fleece fabric is. They know what their productive potential is. They can book an order date based on that data integration to get you 1,000 carrier bags by,
So basically they moved from a cluster of specialized enterprises to an ecosystem of extremely efficient manufacturer that live and breathe and work to deliver a finished good at prices that are, let's be honest, often very hard to compete with.
Yeah. And it's not a luxury to do this, it's a necessity. So before we even press go on export diversification or buy Canadian initiatives and whatnot, it's like we actually need to understand what our productive capacity is and what our supply chain domestically can provide for us. So the visibility piece is the big breaking point right now. The technology actually exists, and there are remarkably sophisticated manufacturing companies in the country, which is brilliant automation companies. We are in some ways amongst the best in the world. We look at Asia and stuff and say, I mean, they really do have facilities that we will not compete with in certain
fields.
sectors. Yes, 100%. But we have to solve the visibility problem into like, what do we have the capacity to build? And what do we have the human capacity to provide as well? It's the other big component of this is actually human beings don't go away in this. We need skilled labor to.
Without going political, it's funny. I had this conversation about, there's a desire right now, particularly in the US, to bring back a lot of the manufacturing capabilities. But in my mind, I was asking myself, okay, let's say the businesses, the manufacturer want to bring that back. But where's the talent to produce the machinery that's going to be used to manufacture this?
Yeah.
It's certainly not in America anymore. And there was a lot in Europe. There was a lot in Italy, Germany, I can think of. But now China again, when it comes to building this equipment, became really good. So how many more years do we need to bring back not just the machinery, but the knowledge to build such machinery for in-house production? And this is when you start realizing it's not a 3-year or 5-year plan. This multi-decade, very complex sets of milestones that needs to be nailed right to work in a way, right?
Yeah, onshoring a lot of this is not practical, right? I mean, let's be honest about that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think it was Malcolm Gladwell's book, right? Like, recognize your strengths. That's just one of the things you have to be like, what are we good at producing? What do we have the capacity and capability to produce? If I were a hockey team, I don't know if you're a Habs fan or not, Jeremiah. I'm an Oilers guy.
I won't say anything about Habs, good or bad. This is as bad as politics in Canada.
It's tough to get into this debate. I love all Canadian teams, man. That's where I'm at. I love all Canadian teams.
I'll jump on that.
One of you, please just win the cup. Please, I'll take any of it.
Just one, yeah.
But if you're a great sports franchise or a hockey team, you got to play to your strengths, right? If you got some 6'6", 250-pound defensemen that can drive guys through the boards all day long, recognize that is our strength, and we're going to have to play to that strength. And I think our mindset needs to be the same. It's like, what assets do we have? What talent do we have? What capabilities do we have? And let's focus on those first. One of the biggest mistakes that we can make in this like hyper growth environment, 90 days is an eternity. Right?
It is.
It is an eternity. You and I could do this again 90 days from now, my friend. We'll have a totally different conversation about wildly imaginative new things that we couldn't have even conceived of today. On one hand, that's awesome. On the other hand, it's terrifying from a sector performance standpoint. And how does policy and government play all within this to actually do good and do the right thing? We really got to focus on what we're good at today, invest in it, pick winners, support the right ones, upskill and build talent within that if we want to move forward quickly. I remember a few years ago, I'm sure you do as well, Amazon was shopping around HQ2. They wanted their second headquarters, their global headquarters to go somewhere, and it became a bidding war all over North America and probably Europe as well. I can't remember. That is 150 or some municipalities put together a big bid, paid millions of dollars. I was a part of
to get them there, yeah.
In fact, the practicality of the number of adult bodies, trained, skilled adult bodies that they would have need to put in a region. We're talking a headcount of about 50,000 people. Not warehouse workers, skilled tech talent. It was an impossibility for 99% of the applicants, right? It's an impossibility. Like what the ask was and what the need was for that type of environment would have been unserviceable by most of us. In most Canadian markets, it would have represented upwards of 10% of the adult working population in the market. It's like, it's not even practical. Our systems would explode, right? We wouldn't have enough doctors. We wouldn't have a house. We wouldn't have any of these things. Just think of the consequences, the unintended consequences of what seems like a good decision is like, practically it's never going to happen. I could have handpicked 3 or 4 jurisdictions in North America that could actually apply. It's based on the population base, the legacy of tech sector performance and everything. Like they would have had
It's true when you think
probably
about
not
it.
the whole thing, but some capability to service what the need was. I don't think the thing ever got built, by the way, but so.
I'm not, you know what, for Americans who watch us, you got to think it this way. As vast as Canada can look, our population, if you take the greater New York area, is about the same size.
Yeah.
Just to put it in perspective.
Yeah, about the same size as California with a smaller GDP.
But that's where I'm like, it's, if you can make it happen in Canada, you've probably got a solid blueprint to make it work anywhere else, specifically from a logistical standpoint, because it is a challenge for an Eastern company to fulfill out West, and it pushed the boundaries of entrepreneurship. So I think it's great in a way. Going back to AI a little bit now, I want to go practical, because you have the opportunity to speak with so many people, see so many businesses. For the entrepreneur that today have a great idea, leveraging AI, like you said, nowadays you can probably go faster to market than actually you'll have your prototype.
Yeah.
So would it be wise to, instead of going through traditional way that we're used to in DTC, I mean, at least I was used to 10 years ago, which is build a case, seek minimum finance, family, and raise a bit of money so you can get your prototype worked on, go to market, see what sticks, adjust, adapt, find your niche, and then scale. Are we living in a completely different era where right now you could technically, hypothetically test a product that doesn't even exist, see if it sticks, and then go to market?
Now we're going to get into the geek out component of the conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. So historically, we've done exactly what you said, right? There's this methodical kind of tried and true process for doing things. All bets are off right now. And I actually have compassion for venture capital and private equity, because what's a good investment, man? I don't know. It's very, very difficult. What can you lean on? Data, historical data. We talked about data for years. Now we've forgotten about data because AI has taken our focus. It's the mashup of the two that is absolute beauty is. We have an endless amount of data to farm from. We have one data visualization product. I'll plug it. It's called Aperture. We use it in both a white glove setting and a SaaS setting. We can analyze millions and millions of records to identify your ICP based on about 3 billion different data points, right? So we have discovered things like customer data sets that live close to EV charging stations or happen to congregate around trails and national parks, where every billboard, bus bench, digital sign in North America is. So if you're buying out-of-home media, I can tell you exactly where your customers are congregating. We all have access to data points like this, right? Maybe not with that level of sophistication, but mine what you have right now, or do your homework and research, because there's an incredible amount of public record that's available to you. Yeah. And there's never been anything better to drop on top of it than AI. You can learn so much. I'm not talking about just query the internet, because garbage in equals garbage out.
True.
Know that like AI asking questions on the internet can get directional accuracy, but not a lot of efficacy. Acquire data, go find data sets, go find municipal data. I mean, I could go to the City of Calgary archives right now and find the date that every house and the square footage of every commercial, multifamily, residential home.
I do of that, a digital version of it that could be ingested into a tool that, you're right.
It's free, it's publicly available. So now I'm a flooring company.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, what are you selling? I replace carpet with hardwood floors. That's our superpower. Okay, great. Well, who are we talking about? You got some historical data? Let's run it through the machine. And the machine tells us, my customer's house was built from 1978 to 1985. They're typically about 4,000 square feet. Yeah. Awesome. I'll find you everyone in the city. Right? That's the level of acuity. Then that's anyone.
Even before starting, you could know what's the sheer size of the audience you're going after. What's the revenue potential if you get 1-2% market share? Yeah. That's even worth it to push that. You're right.
Validate your ideas. It's all available. The example that I gave you, of course, we have a software system I can plug, but you could do that, man. You could just go do exactly what I said with a tool like Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity, right? Yeah. It's nicer when we put it on a map and things. things, but that's one use case. The other, I think, area of fascination that not many people are talking about is digital twinning. And I've worked with a great company out of New York called Lucid that is a digital twin provider. They provide a platform where you can manage your own digital twinning. And think of this like A/B testing on steroids. So today, you can create a digital twin for anything. You, my friend, may want to test a new mattress, right? And that's very expensive. You know what it costs to like prototype and build a new mattress, and then have trial groups and focus groups, put people and get them to sleep on it for you got to put in 200 hours on a mattress. Time and cost that goes into bringing a product to life and bringing it to market is pretty intense. Digital twinning, and I'm going to kind of turn a crank here in everybody's brain, I hope. When I think of it as a mattress, that's very easy now to visualize how I may produce a digital twin of a physical artifact like that, right? I see this 3D object that I can spin around and I can style and I can put fabric on it and stitching on it, and I can simulate tests of a physical artifact.
With proper physics, with proper material.
Exactly. And again, you tune this machine. It is AI that's going to say, well, we're going to put 1 million people on that mattress for you, Jeremiah.
And see what it looks like after.
We're going to see what their sleep scores and data are like, which is another area of fascination that you and I don't have enough time today to go into.
Yeah, no, it's
the wellness space and just the things that we're unlocking in terms of like bio-unique health is just amazing. Sleep plays such a huge role in that. So this is stuff that we can do today. We can prototype and digital twin every mattress that you want to produce. We could prototype the retail environment that you want to put it in. We could craft and test the perfect bedrooms for a polysleep mattress. It could go to such an extreme. But think about this. Think about processes. And this is what I've learned from that great company that I mentioned. Think about processes. Most of the work they do is in processes. It's not in physical artifacts. It's not modeling like walkie-talkies and mattresses.
Yeah.
It's optimizing workflows, because you can test and optimize a workflow, a factory floor, in a totally digital twin setting. Now, there's never a physical artifact. There isn't a 3D rendering of something like that. There's just millions of use cases that are put through it. Imagine optimizing website conversion, right? How did we used to do it back in the day? I worked on one for Dell computers back in the day, where I think we spent
user testing. Yeah, the Tobii camera, sit there. This is your test. We're going to analyze this.
Move the button. Yep. I think we tested 264 different button shades. Now, the net outcome was it produced millions of dollars more revenue, but it took months and months and months to deliver. And it was just painstaking, arduous work. And it may not have worked. There's a very real reality that it may not have worked. Your prototype of a mattress that would cost you a lot.
And you know what? I mean, if you have the money, I think, going back to what I was asking you earlier, which is what's the difference in reality between enterprise and SMB? We were doing back in the days when I was in Martech, UX testing for Pampers in the context of Walmart Media Group.
Yeah.
And we were running tests that were costing tens of thousands of dollars per picture to analyze what would be the click-through or the readability of a specific page if we were to turn the baby's face from looking at the text to looking outside of the screen. And believe it or not, it had a difference. It was making a difference. But there's no way a startup can afford $50,000 worth of tests to see if the eye direction of the model might have an impact as to where it's placed on the landing page. AI provides an alternative to that. But now my question is it one of the pitfalls where we're breeding a type of entrepreneur that eventually, due to the speed constraint, trust the AI maybe a bit too much?
There will be lots of bad businesses that have very short tenure. I do think the acceleration of all things like AI is not an excuse for a bad business, as we touched on.
Yeah,
and I think many ventures will emerge and many ventures will go away. And the good ones that still have an offering and great leadership are the ones that will survive.
It's just going to happen faster, basically.
Correct. Yeah, the cycle just increases and accelerates. what excites me about today, because I am a blind optimist, as most
Hmm.
entrepreneurs should be, I believe this is all going to work out and I think it's going to be okay. It's in the mindset we need in business, right? Or it's just far too depressing otherwise. But this is the age of the visionary. In my mind, it is unlocking so much creative capability
Yeah.
that people like ourselves, I fancy us as being pretty smart ones, Jeremiah, but so restricted historically in the things that we could dream, and we were bound within this box of our creativity because of time, cost, development, technology, go to market. All of these things are just, it's 1,000 cuts, and every once in a while we'd have the persistence to drive it forward and drive it through. Today's technology, AI and others,
Yeah.
really do unlock this potential for like if a visionary can dream it, you're only bound by your creativity now because we can actually deliver it. And I can't look at that as a bad world to live. And I think that for me is just pure adrenaline and excitement. There's never been a better time to be alive than today.
I agree. And I tend to say as well, it's probably the best time as an entrepreneur without funds. Because let's be honest, as an entrepreneur up until now, you had to be also a very good salesman because you had to sell your idea. You had to get the fund to sustain that, build it, go through the roadblock. Whereas now, if you're good at automation, if you understand AI, you can probably build a stack by yourself to test things out, see if it sticks, adjust, and do it again if it fails pretty quickly.
Yeah, and rinse and repeat and keep doing it again. But here's the thing. I had this chat with my son last night, as a matter of fact. He raised this exact thing. He's 20 years old and just a bright young man that has become, I think from when he was younger, somewhat introverted to quite social and, on social channels, mixing it up and going to the gym every day. And he's got a nice friend group and everything.
That's cool.
Like that. I think we still want attraction to people, and that was my conversation with him, is at the end of the day, I still want to commiserate and buy things from people that I like. At the end of the day, we want to share things and trade things, and we want community. And I think in the age of AI, we may even overvalue it a little bit more. We may say it's like, man, but the person with the bravery and the panache and the charisma that you have running your company, I want to be a part of that too. So I'm going to buy a mattress from Jeremiah.
You know what? I agree. And I think we start seeing the cracks where there's a lot of voicing about AI slop, about AI generated content, and people starts to be fed up. I was speaking yesterday with a good friend of mine who happened to have a company called Multicolor, and they do picnic, igloo fest. And he was like, people want that physical interaction. They want to go to events. They want to see concerts. And I think this technology goes in such a way where we could be isolated, but as human being, you're absolutely right. I think we're going to have a comeback to be social, interact with each other, and the best is probably yet to come on from that aspect.
I hope so. I think as much harm as it could come, and we could have a very long conversation about the dangers of it all. But I have hope and I have optimism, and I'm excited for young people. I know young people are going through. I have two, a 24-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old son, and I do have concerns about where the world is shaping itself for them. But we've always persevered, right? We went through the Industrial Revolution, right? And we created things like rubber factories to build tires that we didn't need before the Industrial Revolution. So business finds a way, commerce finds a way, and AI will replace a lot of the productivity work that we do in our world today, and some of the creativity, because it's pretty great. It's pretty smart, but we will always adapt and find other ways and have relevance. And I think this is just a blip on the way to getting there.
I think that's well said. David, on a final note, what are you the most excited about when you see this evolution? And I think we could stay on the subject of AI or technology. And also, like you mentioned a bit, what keeps you up at night when you see the pace at which all these things evolve?
What keeps me up at night? I'll start with the cautionary stuff is we will experience somewhat cataclysmic errors due to artificial intelligence that has a lot of events in the world right now, right? It could be military errors, it could be economic errors, it could be nefarious activities. Our banking systems could get hacked. I mean, harm will be done. There's no doubt about that, right? And we hope it's minimized, and we hope it's not to those close to us, right? I mean, that's the best that we can hope for. But are there going to be events that aren't good? I suspect yes, that's almost a guarantee. Hopefully we can control this technology. I'm not sure. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I mean, there's all kinds of chatter about where general intelligence will go in the future and our ability to lasso that and have control of it. I mean, again, I hope for the best. I hope it's a planet saver, not a planet destroyer.
Right.
That's what I would lose sleep about. Not so much for myself, because I had a pretty good run, Jeremiah. Pretty settled.
The next generation is going to have to deal with a big challenge from an ethical standpoint, from a control standpoint, in a context where countries do not necessarily share the same agenda. So you're right.
Yeah, can we bring our entire species on board with the same belief and value system? I think we've struggled with that historically.
2,000 years later, we haven't figured out how yet.
Yeah, might be fighting an uphill battle there, but let's hope that sense prevails. We've done it with nuclear technology, right?
True.
And again, I think at the end of the day, the more you travel the world, the more you realize that most of us want the same thing.
Agreed.
We want health and safety. We want future for our children. We want stability. We don't want hate. We don't have those kind of adversarial feelings, truly. So, I'm optimistic that this is a solution for that. What I'm excited about, collaboration in an artificial intelligence setting, it's something that not many businesses have played with yet. And I've had the privilege of that experience of 100 people working on a platform using AI, quadrupling their productivity and going through these almost childlike experiences. I can't believe what I just built, and having the ability to share it within an interface. Pure magic. That is pure magic. That's one thing that I'm excited about. Unlocking your curiosity and creative capacity is the other. And again, it's not the goal to put other people out of work or anything, but I've never lived in a world where I could create my own invoicing system in 48 hours. It's magic to me, because I've had to behave within an environment that caused me to go to the right people with the right intellectual property to do that thing. And now intellectual property is democratized.
You're right.
It's been the thing that for millennia has differentiated us and separated us. Language and education level has differentiated and separated us. The playing field flattens. And that doesn't mean that there are still, there are powers that be that own the distribution of this technology. Let's not kid ourselves, right? And those are age-old powers that have been around for a little while building technology, and they're the stewards of it. So what you and I receive is going through that lens and that filter first. So I don't want to be, naive of that.
Yeah.
But for most of us, this is this democratic age where it's gosh, I can access that technology. I can build these things. I can create. I don't know what that means, but I know that it satisfies my curiosity, and it creates opportunities that we couldn't have even imagined 2 or 3 years ago. So,
you know what? As we were discussing off camera earlier, no later than today, Figma had a bit of a bump from a stock perspective because of the new Google Stitch announcement, and I just went to play with it. I invite you to do the same. It was insane to see from a UX and UI perspective what you can do in 15 seconds. It's just mind blowing. So from a creative standpoint, you're absolutely right.
Google, to me, I mean, here we are calling out the death of the search engine and all these things that we have seen. I'm Google is magnificent on so many levels. I don't like to play home team or anything like that, but the product set, the delivery of new products that they're coming to market with, it's impossible to keep up with, and remarkably good. So if we were giving advice on what to keep an eye on, I would say keep an eye on what Google is releasing right now.
David, thank you so much for joining me today. Almost an hour. Any last thought? If people would like to catch up with you, get in touch, LinkedIn is probably the best platform.
Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. I've got one of those like custom like URLs, so it'll be at slash David Nagy. I believe I got that thing some years ago. Love to hear from people if this affects you or touches you in any way. If it makes sense and Jeremiah and I seem like smart guys, then I'm always happy to hear from people.
All right. Thank you, David. And I'll definitely catch you up on the next conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to see you, brother.
Thank you so much for being part of the Up at Night family. If you've liked what you heard today, don't forget to rate, follow, subscribe, or leave me a comment below. New episodes of Up at Night drop every 2 weeks. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a single episode. I'm Jeremiah Curvers. Until next time.